Secretariat recently released a statement applauding its 54 member state countries for the way in which they've handled the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. The economic impact of national lockdowns has been devastating, as we've seen here in South Africa and other developing countries. Well, to discuss these issues further, I'm joined via Skype by Patricia Scotland. She's the Commonwealth Secretary-General. Thanks very much for joining us, Secretary-General. So what sort of efforts has the Commonwealth Collective been involved with in dealing with the coronavirus?
Well, as you know, this coronavirus has been pernicious. It's literally devastated so many of us, and there is no family I can think of which has not been affected either directly or indirectly by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has seen us all locked down in our houses, worrying about our families, our children, and those we love. And this has been a real test for multilateralism. And you've seen that in a number of countries, people have withdrawn and taken a much more nationalistic approach, but not our Commonwealth. Our 54 countries have really reached out to each other, sharing what we know, sharing what we have done well, but also sharing the things that have not gone well. Because this pandemic has been pernicious. When it started, no one knew how it would work, how it would affect us. And so as a result, the Commonwealth has shared their information. We in the Secretariat created the Coronavirus Resource Centre, which was an opportunity for us to share that information. And the Commonwealth has solidly remained as a family. And I think your Prime Minister, President Cyril Ramaphosa really must be commended, not just for his leadership in terms of South Africa, but his leadership of the African Union, because the African Union has pooled its knowledge, its expertise, its scientists in order to help us to get where we need to be.
I think
and this is a real demonstration that none of us can do this on our own. We need each other. We need to support each other, because this is not going to get better unless we do that.
Absolutely.
And I'm proud of what the Commonwealth has done.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, that we need to work together. So most countries have been hit quite hard due to policy decisions that were instituted to deal with the coronavirus, like national lockdowns. But as I mentioned, some have limited resources to recover. What interventions has the Commonwealth spearheaded to aid those countries that may need a little bit more support?
Well, the first thing we've been doing is advocating and also working directly with the World Health Authority. You heard Dr. Tedros say that there is not just a vaccine, there's a lot we can do. And I think many of our countries, unfortunately, had to make a choice. Do we save lives, or do we save just the economy? And in order for us to have an economy, we have to look after our people. We have to save our people. And if you look at the way in which we've done that, one of the critical things is to do the social distancing, to wear the mask, to have the lockdowns, and to make sure that our people have remained safe. But there's a huge amount that we can do in terms of how we re-energize our trade. So, for example, you'll know that the Commonwealth is 2.4 billion people. But we have looked together at the way in which we trade, and we know that there's a 21% trade advantage. It's cheaper, faster, easier for Commonwealth countries to work together. Last year, we reached 700 billion in terms of intra-Commonwealth trade. Now, we know that trade will have slowed down and been an impact. But through our connectivity agenda, we're looking at how we can look at digitalization, how we can make sure that we can take advantage of fintech. So we've been working on those issues, sharing information, training our young people, but also our officials. So, for example, across the Commonwealth, we have about 100 of our members going to Cambridge to learn more about fintech, more about how we can make this better. The digitalization that has taken place has helped to supplement the work that we've done on trade. But we're also looking at how we galvanize blue trade, green trade, because when we go forward, we have to accept what Dr. Tresdor says. This is not going to go back to where it was before. We have to create a new normal. So what's that new normal going to look like? How can we maximize those opportunities for trade and help each other? So some of the things that the Commonwealth has been looking at, we need to look at not just COVID, but how we support the universal health coverage. Our health ministers were already looking at this last year. They'd already identified that we needed to concentrate on this because what we're seeing is those individuals with underlying health issues who have diabetes, who have heart disease, who are obese, are particularly vulnerable. And that's an issue for us. But we're also looking at how we get the right equipment to each other. So we've created a price-sharing database for procurement of medical essentials. But we're also looking at debt, because what's going to happen as a result of COVID is we are going to see a global economic slowdown. And we're going to have to restart, re-energize our communities and our trade. But the trouble is we are going to have to deal with that debt. And so in the Commonwealth, we created the Commonwealth Meridian for Debt Management, which not only looks at public debt, but private debt. And when we come together and we had the webinars where we're trying to identify what works and what doesn't work. But the connectivity agenda for trade and investment, which South Africa has been very much part of, is also working. But we've got to look at how we support our young people.
Yes.
60% of our Commonwealth is under the age of 30, and unemployment of our young people is really affecting all of us. So we're looking at how do we access the genius which is amongst our young people, because they are our hope for the future also, and how do we make sure we give their innovative chances a greater opportunity. And that we're supporting our youth innovations in health, for instance, by a £250,000 grant to try and help those young people who have brilliant ideas to be able to exploit them. But there is so much that we need to do in order to support our economic redevelopment, and we are absolutely committed to taking all we can, but pooling our knowledge, pooling our expertise, and sharing everything that we have between us. And that's the way we're going to get out of it, by protecting each other. Because in order for my family to be safe and my loved ones to be safe, I really have to make sure your loved ones are safe too, because this pandemic is touching all of us, whether we're rich or poor.